I guess from, a high level, phone check, we're trying to set the industry standard for mobile device diagnostics, data erasure, certifications. And the way that we like to do that specifically is by partnering with other businesses, like Wholesale, and specifically marketplaces that are selling refurbished devices. The goal here is to increase as much trust and transparency as possible, deliver reports, straightforward testing, very simple, sleek design. But yeah, that's really what we're trying to do at Phonecheck is increase the trust between buyers and sellers of these devices.
Simple and clear mission. And I think we're aligned in our incentive. For people who are on the call, as our customers probably know this, but we're both working with these channels, so we have an aligned strategy and incentive with the channels that we're working with, and that kind of leads me right into the next thing. So, you know, for folks that are very familiar with Wholesale, this chart will look familiar. But if you're more new to the platform, obviously today we're talking. I put it in highlight there. We're talking about our integration with Phonecheck, but the main purpose of Wholesale, while theirs is to increase the trust between buyers and sellers of this industry, our goal is to exist between the diagnostic software and the spreadsheets that you're getting from vendors and your trade-in software, and then all the channels that you sell on. So Wholesale exists as this combo of a serialized ERP and inventory management system, but also a multi-channel sales management system. So we're keeping all of these sales channels integrated and aware of your inventory. When you sell an order on Amazon, Wholesale automatically brings your quantities down on eBay, Walmart, Backmarket, Rebello, Mercari, Swappa, Newegg, Shopify, and more, so that you don't oversell across these channels, because we know how important and how much you get penalized for overselling on the channels. So that is what Wholesale is doing for folks in this industry. And I think together with the diagnostics of Phonecheck ends up being the as you'll see in my demo today, the information provider of all the details behind your devices, and Wholesale is the management area where you're managing all that information, managing your SKUs, and connecting to listings on these e-commerce channels. So that's why I called our webinar today this, with between Phonecheck and Wholesale together, you have a very elegant workflow of testing your inventory, managing your inventory, and managing the sales that happen on these e-commerce channels. As folks that have used, I'm kind of starting many of my slides this way, but if you've used Wholesale, you will have seen our create and update functions that we have for the Phonecheck integration. We built this integration a few years ago, and so many of you have been using it. It's probably one of our most popular integrations, and you've been using it for a few years. At the beginning, there was just the ability to create inventory from Phonecheck. Then within the last year or so, we added the ability to update existing inventory from Phonecheck. So you can bring in information that updates inventory that's already in the system. As long as there's an IMEI for it and you've tested it with Phonecheck, you can update. And I don't have to give you a live demo today, but what we have coming soon, and I'll talk about this as I give a demo of our existing features, is an automatic update, because folks have been asking for this for a long time. And so I'm going to, rather than give you a demo of that, since I can't yet, I'm going to talk about how it works. So again, for folks that have used it, you've seen our existing features. This is a new feature we've been working on for a while, and we're planning to bring very soon. You will certainly hear from me when it is available for demo, and we'll probably do another live demo like this. If Connor's up for it, I'll bring him onto another one of these webinars when we can show it. So this new feature from an auto update in Wholesale, bringing that information in from Phonecheck, what it allows you to do is when you add inventory to Wholesale, you're going to add it, and you can either, if you have the IMEI, you can put it in with the IMEI. If you don't have an IMEI, say you're just putting in a batch that you are expecting to receive from an ITAD provider or a carrier or some wholesale distributor, you can put your inventory into Wholesale without IMEIs, and you'll actually be able to use the hex ID that Wholesale generates, even though there's no IMEI, and you can use that as the LPN value in Phonecheck when you go and test these devices. And Wholesale, if you check this box that says "Get details later" from Phonecheck, once they're available, once a test has been performed, Wholesale will be checking Phonecheck every 10 to 15 minutes for all of the items that you've added to the purchase order. So, again, for folks that have not seen this before, you add items onto a Wholesale purchase order, and you can do that with Phonecheck. If you already have the items in Phonecheck, you can do that then. If you don't, you can manually update later, but we're bringing the capability to auto update this inventory later, which we know is going to be very popular. So what it does is it checks Phonecheck every 10 to 15 minutes. If a value is found, we overwrite the information that is in WholeCell for that inventory item. And what this kind of means is for people who, we've seen this use case before, and I'll describe it. You've got an iTAD business, and once you get a box in, the box, you need to break down the box, take all the devices out of the box, and they all need to have a label on them, because in your warehouse, you want every product to have a label. So in WholeCell, you can add an unknown or raw SKU to your catalog, and you can print out 500 labels of these raw SKUs. They will all have a unique ID from WholeCell, that hex ID. And then when you start having your testers, it can be 3 days from now or a week from now. Once they start processing those devices through Phonecheck, they can add that hex ID as the LPN value. And that's going to allow WholeCell, once those test results exist, WholeCell can go in and grab the test results and override the unknown or raw SKU from WholeCell. So we think that's going to be incredibly time saving for folks, because right now, if you're doing that workflow, you have to manually update the PO with results from Phonecheck whenever you've done a batch of testing. So you're either having your testers do that, or someone who's managing the PO is going in and doing that update manually. And we're really excited to bring an automated feature there. So I wanted to describe this. If anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat. But from here, I wanted to give you a demo of something. I wanted to at least open up WholeCell and show you and kind of talk a little bit, maybe philosophically, about how this is going to work. So I'm going to jump into a WholeCell account really quick and show you our existing integration with Phonecheck, and then talk a little bit about how the automation will work. And I just saw a chat and then it got deleted. So we'll maybe wait for it to come back. And once it comes back, I'll read it out. So let's hop over into WholeCell. Hopefully you can all see my screen here. I've got a fresh new purchase order that I did from Phonecheck on this Phonecheck demo. We obviously have our new way of adding inventory to POs, which is really fast, and we hope you're enjoying it. This is pushed in the last couple of weeks. But when you go to add inventory in a little more of the traditional way, you see the options. And if you have your Phonecheck account connected, you see Phonecheck as an option there. So we'll choose Phonecheck. I'm going to show you adding inventory from the Phonecheck integration. So say we've started a new PO, but we've got items that we already tested with Phonecheck and we want to add them into the system. This is super popular when we have customers coming over from other inventory systems that they've used or ERPs. They'll bring over all their current stock from Phonecheck because they've got it in Phonecheck. So in here, we have the ability to paste in IMEIs from Phonecheck from items that have been tested and are in Phonecheck. You could go to the Phonecheck cloud portal and copy the IMEIs and bring them here. In my case, I have maybe 3 or 4 copied right here, so I'm going to paste them in. But then you also have the ability if this is something you're doing, is if you're setting the invoice number in Phonecheck and you're setting an invoice number and you've got 5 testers testing devices on an invoice, say it's a big iTAD or wholesale invoice, you're able to just put in the invoice number just by itself. You don't have to copy and paste every IMEI. You can just put in an invoice number and WholeCell will bring over all the products from that invoice. Looks like we got our question here. So May said, "Good morning, everyone. Just wondering what is happening with some of our inventory within WholeCell that has damages like maybe a Face ID issue automatically. Our tech has to confirm it every time we have this issue for a specific IMEI." May, that sounds like it's worth digging into more. What I'd say is if Mike is on the call from WholeCell, I'll have Mike share our onboarding call or demo call with you so that you can get on one-on-one with us and figure that out. I'm not sure if that's a Phonecheck integration specific issue, and we don't really use these demos as a time for support. So please connect with us, though. We definitely want to help you figure that out, and we'll chat with you one-on-one about it later. So back to the demo. For this, we are bringing, so these are items that are not in WholeCell yet. We are bringing them over from Phonecheck and adding to this PO. We're going to hit next here. WholeCell is going to make API requests over to Phonecheck, and we're going to bring in the data for these devices. And in this case, sometimes many of you have seen it asks you to validate the devices and the information about them. It looks like of the 4 ESNs I put in, this 1557 was not found in Phonecheck's cloud database. So we don't have that one, but we brought in automatically these 3 items. And you can just see how valuable this is to bring in all of this data. If you don't have a source for this data that is clean, you have to bring all this information in manually. You have to bring in the IMEI, the manufacturer, model, variant, network, capacity, color. All of that information has to be brought in. And here you're seeing unknown for the carrier just because we haven't done a full check in Phonecheck for this product. So if we ran it through a full test, we'd have the carrier value there as well, which can be super powerful. So that's creating items by virtue of using Phonecheck. What I'm going to do here with all of you on the demo, just for fun, is I'm going to go back to the PO. I'm going to delete these items, and we're going to pretend we're going to create some raw items to give that example. So let's delete these. And let me share, this is kind of, I see this workflow so often. It's such a popular one for folks that are buying in large ITAD lots and stuff like that. I want to share it. So let's say let's do a raw SKU here. We just received some items. We're going to add Apple raw. We have an IP11 raw, but we could say it's like even raw. We don't even know the model. Quantity 3, cost $50 a unit, and we'll set the status to untested. We'll add these to the system. Immediately, WholeCell adds these 3 raw items. If we did grouped, we'd see them, as a group and a quantity. This is one of my favorite things in WholeCell is we can toggle back and forth between grouped and individual perspectives. But, oh shoot, and actually, I messed up one piece of this. Let me go and delete these again and show you guys the right way. Delete these. We have to add the IMEIs, otherwise we can't pull them from Phonecheck. So we'll delete those, but we will add them as raw items again, and we will throw the IMEIs in there. Raw. We're going to set IMEIs, which many of you have seen. We just added that feature, the ability to set these IMEIs. So we've got those 3 there, $50 again, and we'll go untested. So this is, a very common thing we're seeing is folks add the product that they've received. They've got a manifest or some ASN file from their supplier or their vendor, and they add those items in a raw SKU here in WholeCell. You could add totally a raw, you could even add manufacturer raw, and you could put the list of all the IMEIs that your manufacturer sent you here. You could obviously use a spreadsheet to upload this too, but this is a really fast way to do it. We're going to save these. And as long as you are going into Phonecheck then and testing these items, we can select all 3. We can use a bulk action and import the data from Phonecheck. And we can overwrite all these values: manufacturer, model, network capacity, color, grade, damages, unlock code, software version, tester name, firmware, lot ID, battery health, wipe date, vendor ID. These, by the way, are custom fields that I've added to my WholeCell account, and then I've mapped them to Phonecheck values. So that's the way that this works. And Abdul asks, can you select default fields to import from Phonecheck? Each time I have to reselect. That's a great UI suggestion, Abdul. So we need to take that down as a UI suggestion, because even on this demo, I can see that, yeah, reselecting these each time. There isn't a way to do that right now, but reselecting them is a pain. It'd be nice to have defaults or just even a select all button, right? So let's hit save here and bring those values in. What that's going to do is import that information from Phonecheck. So if we close out of this window, once the loading is complete, we're going to see, and we can even kind of see it already in the background here, that it has brought in these values. And so it has updated our raw SKUs. If we refresh our page, we're going to see now, instead of the raw SKUs, we have the full information about these products aside from the carrier, since we haven't fully tested them yet. So, again, what is really exciting about this is you can bring in that information. And if these items had SKUs associated with them, they don't because their carrier is unknown, but WholeCell would have applied the SKU automatically. And if these were in listings that were on eBay, Backmarket, Amazon, Rebello, Swappa, etc., these items would have been added as long as they were in a status that was available or being scoped to the e-commerce integrations. These would automatically get added and your listings would go up in the quantity associated. So philosophically, what I want to add is just what we just did by importing the updates from Phonecheck. Importing these updates, that is what we are going to be making automatic, as long as, and the way that you'll do it is when you're adding inventory, you're going to have a little checkbox that says, I want to bring in information from Phonecheck later when the tests are available. And that is going to start WholeCell on this queue of looking for those updates from Phonecheck automatically. When an update is available, so when a test has been completed and there's test values in Phonecheck for that item, we're going to bring in all the details like we just did, but we're going to do it automatically. So you can have your testers running through all the items in a PO, and as those items get tested, their results are going to be brought in. So your information is going to be updated automatically. We're not going to go through a validation step, at least to start. We're going to just, anytime we see a new value, we're just going to create it in WholeCell's catalog. And we're, of course, going to keep working on tools to make your catalog management easier in WholeCell as time goes on. But that's the way that this is going to work. And it's not going to overwrite multiple times. It's just going to bring in the first test result that it sees. So you're going to want to make sure that the test result that's in Phonecheck and available for WholeCell at the next run of this job is the one that you want to bring in. So WholeCell will grab that test result, and then it will basically stop looking for future test results. Are you able to view, Abdul asks, are you able to view custom fields in the group view? And I believe that the answer to that is yes, Abdul. So we can switch the group view here. We can look at our columns. No, we're not. It's on individual inventory. And actually, I should have realized that. That makes sense because our custom fields are individual and unique to the individual items. In no case are they specific to a group or a SKU there. So if we added battery health, for example, you can see these battery health values, they are specific to the unique IMEIs. If we add, same thing, if we add tester name, there I am. Let's see, do we have a lot ID? We don't have a lot ID. Let's try firmware. We brought in firmware from Phonecheck. What about software version? Software version. So we have an iOS version and a firmware version. This is pretty cool. I mean, this is like what makes us so excited about this integration with Phonecheck is the ability, if you are concerned about those values on your items, you now have the ability to bring them in. And soon you're going to have the ability to bring them in automatically. And if we click on the IMEI here, we have this item specific page. We, of course, can upload images of the item. And we can scan the QR code and upload them from a phone. We have all of those custom field values here, these ones that got imported from Phonecheck, etc. So the short answer is no, you cannot view custom fields in the group view because there is, or at least our intent behind custom fields is that they are unique to each individual item. They're not really meant to be something that describes a SKU or group of items. So they're individual inventory custom fields rather than like SKU custom fields. So that's in essence the full demo that I wanted to give you all today. That we showed creating inventory on a PO from Phonecheck. We showed updating existing inventory in the system and using a raw SKU to just very quickly create items in WholeCell. You know, you could print out labels for that raw SKU, stick them on all of the items that you have coming in an ITAB batch. Muhammad Ali asked, would the status automatically change from untested to tested? I don't know if that is planned for the first version of this release, Muhammad Ali. So my short answer now is I don't know. But we have talked about the kind of automations that you want to run when you automatically import stuff from Phonecheck or a diagnostics provider. So I think that is something on our minds. If you don't see it in the first update, you may see functionality like that from us in a future update. So I'll pop back over here to our slide deck and then ask for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions? And Connor, I've been chatting for a while. Is there anything that you want to share as a follow-up to that?
Yeah, I guess really the only follow-up that I would add is, just you guys are using Phonecheck. WholeCell seems to be the most seamless integration that we have among others. And plus the fact that, you guys work directly with Back Market, Amazon, Walmart for the SKU codes. Yeah, really just would highly recommend WholeCell if you're using Phonecheck. That's really the only thing I'd like to add.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
and again, for folks, anybody that's on the call that has not used Phonecheck and is interested, please book a demo with Connor. Dig in. And even if you're watching this as a recording, we upload these webinar recordings to YouTube. If you're watching this after the fact, please get in touch with us. We will put you in touch with Connor because I think Phonecheck system they've been building for longer than we've been building WholeCell. It is a very battle-tested system for testing hordes of devices, whatever the size of your buyback business is. they've worked with, it seems like, everybody of every size. So battle tested indeed. Muhammad Ali asked, if a device is tested twice, will the auto sync pull the latest or the first testing result? So that's a good question, Muhammad Ali. Based on my understanding of the API, we are pulling the latest result. So, even if it's on an auto loop, obviously it's going to pull the first result that it sees. So if you do a test result today and then one tomorrow, when it pulls the first one, it stops looking and does not automatically pull in subsequent updates. However, if you have two updates in Phonecheck already, my understanding is that WholeCell is pulling the latest update because that's what we have access to via the API. And when we make that request, we're getting the latest test result. So, and we've got a bunch of good questions coming in. So Neil asked, will Phonecheck have an option for debranding Android phones? That sounds like a question for Connor.
Yeah, I'd say for now, no, but that wouldn't be something that we wouldn't add. If that's something that's important for you, what I would suggest is if you are currently using Phonecheck, I would reach out to the support team because they throw out hot fixes for things like this, and we like to listen to customers for what they want to add. So for now, no, but in the future, definitely.
We have similar philosophies there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'd say, keep, in the same way that you have to continually remind us of the features you want to see in WholeCell. And, it takes a while, but sometimes you do see them. It depends on what we've got in our pipeline. Same thing. The squeaky wheel gets fixed, and let them know that you want to see it and how valuable it would be, is what I would suggest. Catherine asked, what information box from Phonecheck is imported as the variant in WholeCell? And I'll pop back to the screen just so you can see, Catherine, we brought in the A model number as the variant here. So the A1662 for the iPhone SE, A1660 for iPhone 7. That is what is, WholeCell has these automatically mapped. That's a hard-coded thing. So we map these ourselves in the integration. And that's what gets brought over for these products. So for iPhones, it should be that A model number. In the past, in my experience, it has been the Samsung, the more technical model number in a Galaxy S7 or something like that. It would be the GM dash whatever, or SM-G 9000 or what have you. So that's the variant we are pulling. I don't know exactly what the name of that field is in Phonecheck. So let me see if I can find it. It's been a very short amount of time here. I don't have my Phonecheck customer portal pulled up anymore, but that's I think that field is mapped hard. So every time you update or you bring in an import, it's going to map like that. Muhammad Ali suggested a whole scenario here. So let's read this out. The scenario is, we test a phone during receiving. It had a damaged camera. Phonecheck and WholeCell sync the data in a PO showing XYZ IMEI with the damage of with camera damage. We fix the camera and we test again, showing that now it's fully functional. Will an individual test result in the PO now show that the device is fully functional, since it will be auto syncing? I want to make sure that we're on the same page here, Muhammad Ali, about the auto sync. If you removed that item from WholeCell and then re-added it and told it to sync, it would bring in the latest test result, which probably has the camera fixed. However, if you put the item into WholeCell, you pull in the test from Phonecheck that has the damaged camera. That is the test result that's going to get imported, and then the auto sync is going to turn off. So auto sync only works for that first time that we see an update value in Phonecheck. So auto sync is going to be off, but of course you're still able to use our update functionality that you can trigger manually. So what we recommend for now is, your procedure and scenario would be, you receive the device, you put it into WholeCell, you turn on auto sync of this integration with Phonecheck. When you test the item and it's got a broken camera, that broken camera test is going to show up in WholeCell, and it's going to hopefully map the damage to have a broken camera. Then you're going to see that your technician is going to fix the broken camera and recheck it in Phonecheck. And at that point, part of their standard process should be going into WholeCell and retrieving, doing a manual update or pull of that item into WholeCell. And so they can pull that item into WholeCell, pull in the fact that it has been repaired and no longer has that damage condition applied. So that's what I would recommend. So you still want to have that kind of mentally trigger that manual update that can be pulled into WholeCell, or they can also go into WholeCell and update that manually as well, whichever one ends up being faster for them. Abdul says, does WholeCell show a history of data pulls from Phonecheck for each device? So the short answer to that, Abdul, is no. We don't have a log of those syncs. Adding sync logs to things, we want to be very sure that sync logs create a lot of extra data in the system, and we want to make sure that they're imperative. So I think for now, we don't have a sync log of those Phonecheck pulls. In a way, we don't, the automatic one we don't have. However, you do have an import history here. So we do show an import history, at least for the specific Phonecheck imports that you are doing. I believe this is currently only applied on the create action. It's not on the update action. So, but you can click into these and you can see the specific items that were brought in. I had deleted these, so they're not there anymore. But you see the kind of the results of the import. And I don't know what the current plan is in terms of adding those when we do automatic imports. I'll check with but that's a great thing. I'll check with my co-founder about that and see what our plan is to whether or not we're adding that history log. But great question. Thank you. Tons of interaction today, everyone. Thank you so much for being so engaged. We really appreciate it. And these kinds of interactions tell me that the features are valuable and meaningful to our customer base. So I appreciate it. Anybody have anything else before we let you go to the rest of your Friday? Anything in the chat? Everybody, thank you so much for your time. Oh, we got something from Micah. Why sometimes does Phonecheck recognize the color of an iPhone incorrectly? That's maybe one more for Connor, and might be more of a customer support one-on-one question. I'll let you field that one, though, Connor.
Yeah. If for whatever reason you guys are having an issue with Phonecheck recognizing the color of the device, I mean, it could even be just the fact that the charging port is not picking up all the data. And then if, for example, this does happen consistently, just reach out to the support team. We'll send you guys out a hot fix, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Like hot fixes. Cool.
Yeah.
And Abdul made a feature request that that when Phonecheck tests if I'm understanding you correctly, Abdul, when we import a Phonecheck test automatically, you want the location of that item in WholeCell, that location to be updated. Is that correct? Would you and for actually both for you, Abdul, and for whoever was asking about a status change earlier, let me see, who was that? I think that might have been was it Muhammad Ali? Yeah, Muhammad Ali asked about that. For changing the status or location, would you all want that status or location to change to the same status every time? So you'd have a setting and you'd say, when an import is brought in, I want it to be changed to this tested status, or this, a successful import from Phonecheck status, or would you want that to be different depending on the device? What would be your preference and how that would look? Oh, and interesting. Catherine mentioned, maybe to Micah or Michael's point, that she said, I often see the color issue when a device has had a body swap. So the body has been, the frame where the body has been swapped on the product, and it pulls the original color of the product, obviously, because that's what Phonecheck has access to is the value and information from the OEM status of the device, and it pulls the original color. But this is it's so funny how this industry is becoming more and more like automobiles, right? Everybody's got this crazy record of the VIN number, and sometimes varies significantly from what's in front of you, either with the vehicle or the product. Okay, Abdul, Muhammad Ali, if you could get back to me via email at some point. Oh, we got from Abdul. It would be result specific. based on so you would want to triage the phone. You'd want that update, that automatic update to triage the phone, Abdul, it sounds like. I think that's a really cool idea, Abdul. I'd say this is the kind of thing, to that degree of specificity. This is a great API integration to build with Wholesale and with Phonecheck. But I'm going to share that as an update with my co-founder. So it sounds like that doesn't sound like a location. That sounds more like you'd want to change the status maybe, or maybe you have a location for LCD repair. I shouldn't assume that. So move to a battery repair or an LCD repair status or location so that you can then triage the items that way. I think that's an interesting idea. So based on the conditions you get back from the failed tests and Phonecheck, that goes to a different stage in Wholesale as an ERP. So very cool. I think Abdul and Muhammad Ali, it may be worth us both starting an email chain to discuss what that looks like in more detail. That's one of our biggest challenges, is getting a firm understanding of the level to which people want these kinds of automations built out. So maybe send me an email if you don't mind, and give me as much information about what you want that to look like as possible. That'd be great. I think we're gonna end it here, so both Connor and I can get back to our days, and you all can get off to a great weekend. But thank you all so much for the time. We really appreciate it. Connor, is there anything that you want to say before we close up?
Yeah, I guess just, if you guys have any further questions about, Phonecheck in terms of things you'd like to add or features, you guys can reach out to me via email, via support. I think the support email is just support@phonecheck.com. And then again, we do have the demo calendar at the bottom left if you guys want to schedule a call to learn more in detail. But other than that, no,